All right. Welcome back, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a great conversation ahead of us today. We have Carolyn Aronson, CEO and founder of It's a 10 Enterprises. So, beauty, hairline, you might be familiar with our guy, Fat Joe, and recently Nori.
Khaled.
And then
Kelsey.
Yeah, Kelsey for sure. That's a big one. Yeah. And then, what was the model? Tyson Beckford. Tyson Beckford.
Yeah.
But years in the beauty industry has built a beauty empire. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but I read where it said $500 million in annual sales and operates in over 107 countries.
We are up to 125 countries.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say the sales are, at least that much.
At least.
At least.
At minimum,
We
folks.
are privately owned companies, so we don't report to anyone, but those are retail numbers.
Business is booming.
Yeah, it is.
Congratulations.
You were named Forbes 50 over 50.
That's right. Yeah, that was a complete honor.
Congratulations. Rewind it 10.
Yep.
Which AKA Rewind it Time.
Yeah, we know that's the slogan,
That's
right?
been coined by Khaled and Fat Joe.
Yep.
And now Nori's involved with it.
Yeah.
Kelsey.
Travis Kelsey.
And Tyson Beckford.
Yeah.
So that's like the just for men kind of thing.
But it's in that vein.
Right? It's a dye for your beard.
It is hair and dye beard. That's in a box, but it's very different than just for men. We've raised the bar within that category and really have brought a quality, professional Italian color to the masses. So, it's the same concept, but a little better.
Higher quality.
Yes.
Of course.
Okay.
Well, of course it'd be.
Yeah.
And it's all over, too. I saw it in CVS.
That's right.
It's all over all of these
Sally
retail.
Beauty.
Sally's Beauty.
Yeah.
Sure.
Going in Target, about to launch in Target. So, yeah.
Picking up a lot of steam.
We know a thing or two about
quickly.
beards. We know a thing or two about them.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
So first and foremost, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So you've built this empire. You're in 120 some odd countries and over $500 million in annual sales. But where does it start? Like, what's the origin story of you becoming an entrepreneur, starting this country? I'm starting this company.
And in this country, because we're blessed to be able to do that, right? It's super important that we know we have those freedoms. So I really started as a hairdresser. I've been in the beauty industry for 42 years, and those annual sales are just It's a 10 hair care sales. So I started It's a 10 hair care 18 years ago, after I stood behind the chair for 20 years. And so really kind of migrated into manufacturing after being a hairdresser and a salon owner. Had my first company that completely failed, lost everything, and took our last few dollars, $80,000, me and my partner, $40,000 each, and started It's a 10 Hair Care with just one bottle, because that's all we could afford. And we started with the Miracle Leave-In product, which now sells over 11 million bottles a year just in the United States. So that particular company really exploded, and in 2017 I bought my partner out. So I'm the only Latina-owned professional hair care brand of my size in the world. And really, it's just my years of passion for the beauty industry and really looking to raise the bar in many categories. I saw you introduce me as It's a 10 Enterprises, and that's really what's evolved out of all my years of experience is many beauty brands, Rewind at 10 being one of them. And super excited about that one. And so we're working on Rewind Her 10. So we're going to just keep going and really bringing, great things to the consumer and to the professional hairdresser.
So it's an incredible story. All right, you start as a product, and I want to talk about the product, the first one, right? The magical leave-in, because as you're creating that product, one of the toughest things to do in hair care, especially in beauty, is to market that to the masses. So how did you make this product, how did you know it was the product, and how did you get it into the right people's hands so that people can know about it?
So, I think my frustration behind the chair, really looking to create something that was simple, easy to use, multifunctional. Not only could the hairdresser understand it, but the consumer could understand it, was really what I sought out to do. And in that process, obviously, getting it into hairdressers' hands. So we started off within the professional sector, Cosmoprof, which is owned by Sally Beauty Holdings. It's a professional distribution center. only selling to hair salons. So we started off with them with the one bottle, only in California. God bless California right now with what they're going through. I'm super supportive of them. We just donated $500,000 in products because that's where we started. And we got it in the hairdresser's hands, gave out free samples, and it just went like wildfire across the United States. So it was really about, it says 10 things on the back. The names are simple, the colors pop, they're very Latina, bright and, bubbly colors. And it was really just bringing something to the industry that I really felt it needed and really getting it into hairdressers' hands, because that's how brands are built, through passion and through that organic, really brands that last forever. We're 18 years into this now. So ones that really have legs. I'm a strong believer in starting slow and steady up that mountain. And so that's how we started.
Now the name, it's a 10, is when we think 10 out of 10 is perfection.
Of course.
Is that where the origin's from? Like, we're going to put this product out.
We're at.
It's perfection.
And not only that, I actually work with chemists to develop the formulas. Excuse me. And it was that process when I would say to them, hey, you know what? This is only a 6. Send it back, do this, do that, add more slip. I wanted to do this. And I kind of created these hybrid products that really became very, very loved throughout society. So that's really where it came from, striving for that 10 always. But sometimes it's a process, and realizing that, you know what, you have to work towards that little by little.
So when you started, did you have a relationship with the chemists, with the manufacturers, with the wholesalers, or is from your expertise in the beauty industry already, or you just kind of went and figured it out on your own?
Yeah, we figured it out little by little. We made some connections. California is a big hub for a lot of the manufacturing as well, and the beauty industry. A lot of it starts there. But we had made some connections through some other brands and people, the chemists behind them. So we just started working with them, and I got in deep and got my hands dirty and really worked heavy with the chemists to really create unique products.
How'd you market it?
As I mentioned, a big part of it obviously was pop of color, unique concept. It's a 10, does 10 things, multifunctional, kind of very eye-catching from the beginning. But really, the marketing in the beginning was mass sampling. And that was unusual for then. They had done it years ago, but they'd gotten away from it. So we were literally giving out full-size bottles left and right, millions. Some are probably one of the largest sampling campaigns in the history of the beauty world. At one point, we gave...
Who are you giving them to?
So we were giving to hairdressers. And then as we grew and scaled, we gave 2 million bottles to Ulta stores across the United States. So we really and to this day, when we launch in a new country, we give out little 2-ounce sample bottles, and people get hooked. Once they use it, it's one of those products, I call it a golden formula within the industry. It is that life-changing to people. So, and that's how we're able, 18 years later, even being knocked off so many times, we've been able to really keep our market share. It's a quality. It's a 10.
It's a 10.
Yeah.
It's obvious. So that's part of it. That it's a competitive industry. But you said something very important earlier. You said that you're one of very few Latinos in the space.
Yeah.
And so when you're starting this, who are you looking to say, like, hey, I can get advice from this person? Or are you relying on your peers and pretty much your customers as a test space to figure out how you're going to build this?
I think part of it is my years of experience. I touch thousands of heads and use thousands of products. So I kind of have a feeling for really what I should bring to market and how. But really, it is my peers. You have other hairdressers testing them. You have, consumers testing them. It is a whole process. And sometimes it's not always perfect. There's times when, I put a product out and it doesn't do so good. And maybe I bring it back to market later. I just remarket it. Marketing is really important as well. And I think keeping things very simple and easy for people to understand is where I kind of came in the back door. At the time when I launched the company in 2006, as you mentioned, the market was oversaturated. It was very competitive. I was up against L'Oreal, P&G. These are multi-million-dollar marketing budgets. And we were like the little train that came from behind and just like, I think I can, and really kind of came in the back door through the mass sampling campaigns.
So you got the mass sampling campaigns, it's going good, but is that said your first attempt, you actually ended up failing, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
how did that actually go from having the success to actually not working out?
That's a great question, because as we all know, right, our failures are opportunities to grow and learn. So when we first started, as you mentioned, we basically kind of just were diving in head first and learning as we went. And we really did everything to a la carte. We had a separate chemist and a separate ingredient company, a separate label company, a separate sprayer company, a separate bottle company. And to create the cohesive product on the shelf and have all those vendors come together simultaneously was difficult. We had a lot of QC issues. And so we learned, I think, to really work with more one-stop shops and really finding vendors and people to help you bring your vision to life that maybe have a few different services under one roof. And that helps a lot. You know, you need to streamline your manufacturing. So when you can actually go into a house, let's say it's a bottling house that has all the caps, it has all the design teams, it has all the labeling companies, right? And these cohesive teams now that are out there, it's like, why go to a plumbing store or go to an electrical store when you can go to Home Depot? So understanding that sometimes working smarter and not always harder. And I know that's a very cliche phrase. We all work very hard, but there are ways that you can make your time more proficient and really learn the ropes and how to really truly manufacture in a very efficient way.
Yeah, we've been, standing by that line, right? You got to work smart. You said a lot of things just now in terms of somebody was trying to start about building that team, making it simple. One of the things we always stress is in order to have a business that's going to be successful and scalable, you have to start with low overhead, right? So in this business, in the early stages, I know you said you brought out your partner, but like how cash intensive was it or wasn't it when you're starting to build this and getting the bottles and getting manufacturing and finding the simplest way to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think we're definitely one for the textbooks. I think Harvard needs to do a study on us.
Start
now. We actually had very little money, as I mentioned. So it was just me and my partner working originally. I kind of ran the inside, designed everything, and made sure everything was flowing, and he was outside sales. And so we grew very slow but steady. And as we grew, we just would hire only what we needed, and sometimes outside consultants, so 1099s. And to this day, we run very kind of lean and mean. I think we have 25 employees. And I think companies my side usually have 100 at least.
I'm just thinking about the sales. 25 people?
Yeah, we have 25 employees, yeah. So we may even have 27 now, I mean, we're growing big, hard, and strong here. So, but yeah, I think that it's really important. I have the mindset that growing slow and steady is the way to long-term success. I think part of the problem today and the mindset of people and entrepreneurs is that they need to explode and they need to do everything at once. And I'm not really a believer in that. It's, how they always say you're an overnight success, but it took me 18 years. And that's really where we're at. It's actually 42 years. It's a lifetime of living and breathing one thing, the beauty industry, and staying consistent and persistent. And so, to me, that's the key to success. They say that the fastest way to the top is slow and steady.
So you start, you have some trouble, you get back on track, you figure how to, consolidate things. When do you really start to hit your stride? Like at what point do you start to really take off?
It's probably 2 years into it, we really started seeing the growth.
It failed year one?
The other company really failed within probably the first 18 months to 24 months. And we kind of migrated that company into our new one, but we had to shut down the old one and literally start a whole new brand and a new company.
Okay.
So, but we tried to kind of take some of the inventory and work through it and do some things to help subsidize our new company a little bit. But we also had built some of those relationships, and so we kind of worked with some of the relationships in a way that helped us work through into the new company. So listen, everything is that whole relationship base. So much of every industry, right? It's all about that
So
networking. And
what made it go to the moon?
it was probably a combination of things. It was a magical recipe. It really was. And it was a timings thing where the distributor that we were working with had just lost L'Oreal, so they were willing to give us a shot. One little bottle, right? They were like, hey, we need, some new brands. Let's give it a try. And it took off like wildfire. I mean, that's the miraculous part of it. It truly is a miracle that has just really, blossomed into this massive worldwide brand.
So after you get the first product, this is always tough in business, knowing when to scale and create more. I mean, I got the list here. I can run them off. So it's a 10 hair care. It's a 10 tools, extensions. How are you realizing and analyzing, okay, it's time to add an extension to this empire. It's time to add an extension to this empire. And now you look and it's like, well, we really have an empire.
That's right. I think part of it is your gut, but also it's financial literacy. It's absolutely key to success. Knowing when to spend, how to manage it, and how to manage growth. I think that tends to be the downfall of a lot of entrepreneurs. They aren't quite sure how to actually manage that growth and not get themselves in too much debt, not to expand too quickly. And I mean, that's a major part of it because so many people want to hurry up and just move into the next categories and expand when actually they haven't solidified the last one. So it's really, really important to get those legs under your initial acquisitions and your brands. We just made our first acquisition. That's why I say acquisition. And so, I mean, it's as I mentioned, it took years, and we were completely self-funded the whole time. So as money would come in, we would reinvest, and that's really unusual. I mean, a lot of companies bring in venture to grow, and it's very common in today's world, obviously, to borrow money. We didn't do a lot of that. We let the company grow itself, and I'm old school when it comes to finances. I'm kind of like the Latina Susie Orman as far as how I manage my money. If I can't afford it, I don't do it, and I don't buy it. And I live that way to this day, even as someone as a wealthy person.
So what role has beauty influencers played? Do you guys utilize that at all? Because that's something that's become really big, especially TikTok and YouTube, stuff like that.
And listen, for an 18-year-old brand to literally migrate through the times and still remain relevant and, have our demographic go down 7 years over the last few years because we are engaging in the social media and the influencers in the ways of today. I mean, when I started this company, we were doing magazine ads, I mean, technology wasn't even there. So that's the president of the company, Jeff Aronson, who's absolutely brilliant, who was also behind the marketing of Rewind at 10, putting the guys' faces on the boxes.
That's your husband?
That's my husband, yes. Okay. And so, I mean, that's really keeping up with the times is such an important part of any brand. And not only with technology in what you're actually creating, so, the newness of the products and keeping up with the styles and everything is such a major part of it. And that's, I think, where a lot of brands get challenged over time.
Did you accept that right away? Because that's difficult. Like Blockbuster went out of business because they didn't realize what was happening, right? So a lot of companies don't actually understand things until it's too late. So this whole beauty influencer thing, I would assume when people kind of didn't fully understand it at first. So did you realize right away, or did it take time to appreciate social media?
Great question. So in 2017, when I became sole owner of the company, and I had so much vision about how I was going to literally become the driver of the brand bus and literally take control of my distribution for the first time ever, really in the history since it's been incepted, So so I had all these ideas. I wanted to expand distribution and change the company. But I also knew that we really needed to come into the ages, right? And that's where Jeff came in. And he said a couple things, because we negotiated him becoming on, and working with It's a 10. And he said, I'll do it under one condition, that you come from behind the curtain, Oz, and you become the face of the brand, because social media is the way of the future, and we need to also build e-commerce. And he's a genius at all of that. And I love technology. I always have. I've always been a Mac person and loving the newness in technology. So I was very receptive to it, but I also was a little bit afraid because it's expensive. When I first owned the company, we had a website that said, "Hi, we're It's a 10," and had pictures of our products because we were professional only. We had distributors. You couldn't buy from us directly. First thing he did was create a website, and we started marketing directly to consumer. And that's literally grown thousands of percent over the last few years. It is a major part of our business, and obviously using the technology to cultivate that business is now a way of life for us. And it's exciting. We're getting more and more involved in it all the time. And I love it.
That's incredible. So, that speaks a lot to having a strong team. And when you have a lean team, like you said, 25, maybe 27 now, you kind of have to get it right. Right? Like you've got to get it right when you're running that thin of a team. So what's that process like of bringing people on and realizing it's a good fit or not for you, right? Because at some point, as you said, as you start scaling more, you have less time for yourself. So you have to put people in positions of power, give up a little bit of control
to delegate.
It's really
super important.
It's a delicate balance.
Yes. And I think as we talked about networking, all of my years within this industry, I've had a lot of experience meeting all types of people within the industry. And I can remember literally like thinking to myself, oh my God, I wish I could hire a person like that. Or I wish I could have that CFO. Or I wish I could have that person of marketing, retail, senior VP, executive. And little by little, we've been able to actually hire them and work with them. And it's been a dream come true because your team is everything. They help me bring my visions to life, and they're the experts at it. And I learned from them and they learned from me, and it's like this great tango. So when you have those experiences and you start feeling, does this person fit or not, pretty quick. Usually within 90 days, and so that's really how we've been able to grow our team and build the people that work with us. We're a tight team. So you have to kind of fit in the family and fit in the mentality, because we all wear a lot of hats. We're not a typical corporate company. We're extremely entrepreneurial. We turn on a dime. It's a lot of excitement and a lot of work, but when we're doing it, we're all really passionate about it, and we're all really involved in building the brands and creating what it is you see on shelf.
So the product, was it ever made for one specific demographic? Obviously, as a Latina, was that the idea to kind of make it for every single person? Is that even possible? Like who is the products actually made for?
Great question, because, back in 2005, when I was formulating these products, there was a black hair care aisle and there was a Caucasian hair care aisle. And really the products were able to kind of sit on both shelves. And so in the beginning, we had a lot of organic passion from a lot of stars that we couldn't afford to pay. We never did pay them. But everyone from like Christina Applegate to Gabrielle Union was literally publicly speaking on magazines, on Twitter, on their social media about our brand, completely unsolicited. And it was an honor, because I believe within my culture, we have everything. We have Afro Latina. Mm-hmm. We have almost blonde hair, blue eye. We are the Puerto Rican island is a melting pot, and so that mentality really, when I stood behind the chair, I always did every type of hair. I was one of the only hairdressers in the salon that did everything from black hair to Jewish hair to Arab hair to white hair. I was willing to embrace it all. And so maybe that really helped in what it was that I created, because we were inclusive long before that word was even the buzzword.
It goes across.
It goes across. And what I've done is color-coded collections for hair issues. So we have a coily collection, we have a scalp collection, we have, all these different color-coded collections that really are targeted. Each one has a leave-in, so that's the foundation, but they're targeted to solve hair problems because we are a melting pot. We are becoming more and more mixed. So maybe you have a few different problems and you need, products from each one.
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you go from here, but we also have cosmetics.
Yes.
And so, I mean, this is a huge industry. We've watched entrepreneurs become billionaires in this space. Everywhere you go, this is one of those demographics and SKUs that always gets younger, right? Like I have a 13-year-old. She wants to go to Ulta. She wants to go to Sephora. She's buying cosmetics. So it always gets younger. What was that venture like getting into that space?
Listen, I've been using cosmetics since I was 7 years old. And so it just made sense to me. I mean, the whole It's a 10 is a head to toe experience. So cosmetics was just a natural fit to me. And once again, simple, easy to use, multifunctional products that you don't need YouTube tutorials or a million brushes or to be an expert to actually use. The applicators are right in there. So it definitely is more consumer friendly, but really mid-price range and just something that I think it's really easy for people to understand and use.
So you're expanding, so you're in 125 countries. How does that work? Like, how were you able to go to so many countries? What was the process of that?
It's interesting as we expand. We started, actually, it was right around COVID. So that was a tough time to start launching internationally. A lot of it was done through Zoom. Mm-hmm. But, it's interesting as we started approaching countries and distributors, and once again, relationships. We had, obviously people who are experts in expanding beauty brands internationally. So we partnered with them to do it. But as that happened, the products actually were already recognized, which was really great. The products were, people had been bringing in their suitcases into the countries for years. Most brands go internationally within a few years of them expanding. And our particular brand didn't do that until we were almost 12 years old. So that was unusual. So we are finding as we expand and as we go around the world, there are just more and more countries that are just really glad we're finally there.
I want to talk about Rewind at 10.
Yeah.
It's been a great marketing plan. Talking about having the face of celebrity on it, using it as part of the marketing strategy. But why in this moment? Did you feel like it was necessary to come to market with this right now?
Yeah, that's a great question because Joe's been bugging me for probably like 6 or 7 years to do it. And you know what? I wasn't ready, but also I wasn't so sure the market was ready. And so I really feel that with the barbering world exploding, with the men's care world exploding, which is a phenomenal thing. I'm so glad that men are actually partaking in skincare and hair care and even just overall health care, right? On a whole nother level. I just felt like, it was time. And it was just I knew I could raise the bar. I knew that wasn't easy. I knew what it needed. The Beijings of the world weren't cutting it. So I just knew that really with the partnership with Joe, with Jeff's amazing marketing concept behind it, and us being able to bring that to life, not one of those guys will cut a check. Mm-hmm. And it's Joe's relationships, but it's also the marketing concept and programs that Jeff had put behind it that really people were excited about and were willing to get on board with without getting a check. So between the three of us, it was this great trifecta that I thought, what, this is the perfect time to do it. So I flew over to Italy many times and really wanted to create amazing formulas. They have natural ingredients. We have stain wipes in the box. I mean, we just thought of all the things that were needed and should have been provided from day one,
So they didn't get paid, so it's some level of equity that they get, and I'm assuming.
Sure. I mean, they're getting a cut of everything that happens, but
so it's in their interest to sell
Absolutely.
The more they sell, the more they get paid type situation?
Absolutely. That's right. So they're out there promoting. I mean, we're talking literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of impressions when they do their posts or they go to CVS. Tyson's all over it, and he's up in CVS all the time. He's great.
How have the sale? I mean, it's been, I feel like maybe 18 months, maybe less than that since I feel like they announced it.
Yeah.
How has the first 18 months been?
Oh, it's exploded. I mean, as you mentioned, there are other brands that are running like scared a little bit. I think they're definitely a little worried. You know, it has just been really everything and some, and I think it's just going to continue to grow. Because people are using it and realizing like, wow, this is superior product. I actually use it and the color is what it says on the box. You know, half the time you pick up other boxes and you aren't sure what you're going to get. So just for a lot of reasons, you know.
So Fat Joe was the one that recruited everybody?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's some of them. There's an MMA player. My husband's partnering with UFC, so he's in the MMA world. Mm-hmm. So we do have Wonder Boy, who's worldwide champion in MMA, so with UFC. So we do have some other sports people, you know. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it is Joe's contacts, relationships. And listen, if he doesn't know them, he calls them up. And he'll DM them, you know, be like, hey, you want to get out of box? You know, and a lot of people are obviously very responsive. He's well known. So, and he's growing and exploding. I'm so happy for him about what's going on in his life as well. He's stayed relevant for 25 years. How do you do that in today's society, right? You know, especially as a rapper, especially as a haircare brand. Haircare brands to me are like bars. They come and go in restaurants. A lot of haircare brands come and go. So how do you stay relevant and successful after 20, years? It's not easy.
I'm sure you got approached to sell your company. That was never a thought for you?
Right number.
And
it have to have multiple B's.
And you haven't.
And if it's not going there, I'm really cool doing what I do. Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be an insane amount of money. So I love what I do. And I love creating, and I love to continue to expand. We're launching 2 new brands this year, as well as we made the acquisition. So, we just launched Cloud, a retail brand that's going in CVS and Walmarts. Listen, I've spent a lifetime building these relationships and doing what I love. And it would take so much money to have me stop. I don't even know if I would really want to, you know? I mean, I don't know. I love what I do, so.
So let's talk about the acquisition, because if I read it correctly, this is about hair growth now.
It is.
Which is, I mean, you're talking about full service now, right? First is to leave-in as the miracle product, right? Then we're getting cosmetics and we're getting extensions, and now hair growth, which is something that obviously is a concern for a lot of men.
It is.
Not speaking for myself, but talk about what was that process like? Was this the first acquisition? Is this something that you guys are looking to do in the future as well?
Yeah, I mean, it is my first acquisition. You know, I've been approached plenty of times over the years by people wanting me to buy their companies, and nothing ever really felt right. But this one really felt right. This is a brand out of Canada that had been in business many, many years. By accident, they were in 40 countries. And it was kind of run very small, but was a worldwide brand. Wasn't real strong in America, but they actually have clinicals. So it works. We have proof it works. A lot of natural ingredients and amino acids. And, anytime something really works, people can pick up a bottle and feel the results instantly, it's a winner. So I knew that it was something I really wanted to acquire. And so, we were able to make it happen. And so what we have done is totally repackaged it, kind of even renamed parts of it. Mm-hmm. And so we have the one brand called Fast, and it's all about growing hair faster, longer, stronger. So that's really for maybe the, Gen Z and the younger clientele who really wants to be able to grow their hair very long. And that's across all cultures. That's a problem with all cultures, that they can't necessarily grow their hair as fast as long as they want. But then there's Arise, which we are launching at the end of this year. Fast is launching in April, and Arise at the end of the year. And that's about truly growing back hair. for men, for women. It's currently sold all over the world. A lot of it is sold in like pharmaceutical type environments. So we changed the packaging, we raised the bar, made it much more high end, and called it a Rise. So I know that's going to do amazing as well.
How important is pricing when obviously you're creating these products? You're looking at obviously the price that it costs to make versus the price it costs to sell. There's a fine balance in between.
To me, it's very important. I'm a self-made person. I was never someone who was always rolling money. And I think it's more important to really be able for the masses to afford things. So we're definitely more masstige, a little bit prestigious with more of affordable mass price. Not totally, mass, not $8 or $10 a bottle, but in the 20s. So it's definitely more reasonably priced, where a lot of people can find a way to afford it, even if they are on budgets, and they do. I mean, when they find something that works. I've gotten handwritten letters from people like, I'm in college and I ate mac and cheese this week so I could get my hair care, and that's the mentality of people today, men and women. They're willing to make the stretch to actually have the products that they really want and need.
So, what was the process of you buying out your partner?
Wow, a long one. A really long one. At that time, we had kind of thought about selling, and that didn't work out. And so we knew it was time to kind of depart ways. And so it was an interesting one. Definitely going to write a book about it. It's going to be coming out because it wasn't for the weary. It definitely was a interesting process, but really I stuck to my guns. I knew what I created. I knew that I did create it, and I had to fight for it at times, even to own my own formulas. And so some court battles, but I won them, and really made some history within the industry. So that's one bit of advice I would give to somebody, is fight for what's yours and what you believe in. So many people get discouraged and walk away from what they've truly created, and I don't recommend doing that.
So you said this is a privately owned company?
Yes.
Are there ever thoughts, or maybe down the road, that potentially the public could own it, or maybe taking it to the market?
I've thought about those things. A lot of interesting things have happened in my industry. There's been some SPACs. I mean, I don't know if you've looked into the Olaplex situation and what happened there. And I went public, and there were SPACs involved and everything. So, yeah, you know what? I've thought about everything. Kind of like where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the biggest hurdles that you face, even as a female entrepreneur? Like, were there obstacles that you had to overcome?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a man's industry. Believe it or not, the beauty industry is run by men. Yeah, of course. It's taken years for me, 50 over 50. I'm in my 50s, so I'm 58 years old. It's taken me years to be actually taken seriously and recognized. And so I always say my 40s, I was justified, but my 50s is a whole nother level. I'm actually being recognized, and it's taken a lifetime, half a lifetime. I'm going to be over 100 when I, go. So, so yeah, no, you have to really, I think that we need more women CEOs in the beauty industry, and more women coming up from the bottom and working their way up to top positions, because we are really the mass consumer of this industry. Yeah. So I would love to see more women in C-level positions within it.
Is there such thing as work-life balance for you? I know, obviously, you said that your husband's working inside the business. That might help. But even when we were speaking prior to, it was like, what is leisure? We're not even sure what that means, because the work feels, you do what you love, but you are working in it. And even when you're not working in it, you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And when you're away from it, you can't wait to get back to it. Is there such thing as work-life balance?
Yeah, I asked you, what does earn your leisure mean? I'm not so sure I know what that means. Because my balance is work. I love to work. And so, yes, you do have to have some balance, obviously. And I love spending time with my loved ones and spending time with my quality family and friends. But my happy place is work. It really is. I love what I do. And I love the game. I'm addicted to the game. So, I'm not so sure there's ever really going to be a balance for me, what most people would consider balance, because, you know, what I like to do is different. So I'm happy doing what I like.
How do you feel just being in the beauty industry? Target recently, they said that they're cutting back on diversity. I forget the exact language, but just
Equity,
products.
inclusion.
Well,
yeah.
but just the products as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, one thing, the DEI thing is one thing from a corporate employee standpoint, but now they're actually rolling back on products as well.
I have a hard time believing that because the consumer is going to predict that. They can say they're going to do that. And by the way, I never rode that wave. I've been a minority-owned business, female, double minority, Puerto Rican woman, 100% Puerto Rican, owned business since inception. I recently only got certified as a minority-owned business. And oh my God, what I had to go through, I had to get like birth certificates from my abuela. My abuelita was like digging in. It was like, so, you know, I never really leaned on that to build my empire. But what I've created has been consumed by diverse people. So they can say and do what they're going to say and do, but the consumer is really going to predict what kind of products they need, what kind of products they're going to buy. Our Coily collection is now launching a tight sector to it, raising the bar. High quality products for all hair types is what the world needs. And as I continue to create them, no matter who claims, some, you know, big corporation who claims they're going to, you know, bring them or not, the consumer dictates what they want and need. And so when they hit the shelf, they sell. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, when you're on the shelf, obviously there's obviously competition. You talked about creating the formulas for a lot of the products. How do you protect it? Is there a patent that you have to go after in the beauty industry? Like, what is that process? We know, like, a lot of times when you name a product, you trademark it, but this is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So how do you protect the brand from dupes?
Yeah, and super important to do from day one. Because, you know, when we started this company, I think we knew we would be successful, but we never thought we'd be this successful, where people are literally trying to steal your formulas like your Coca-Cola, you know? So how do you protect that? And the process is a legal process. Yes, trademarking. You cannot actually patent formulas within the beauty industry. Very rarely. You may be able to patent a process, but there's so many common ingredients within these formulas. It's really kind of hard to patent exact formulas. And so there's a lot of legal, you know, T's you got to cross, I's you got to dot, making sure you have very solidified contracts with your fillers, with your manufacturers, so they're not, you know, trying to kind of steal your ideas, what you've created. And then really making sure that you're fully trademarked, trade dressed. How does your bottle look on shelf? That's trade dress. So not only are you trademarking your names, but you're actually trade dressing your actual look, of which I had to do in China. China stole my name. So I went and hired attorneys in China, and I had to, you know, trademark my trade dress, so they couldn't actually have a bottle looking like me. Yeah. So there's a lot. You know, we created the 10 bullet points on the back of a bottle. Every single brand has knocked us off with that concept at one point or another. Thank goodness no one's been able to really take our market share for our Miracle Leave-In with the 10 bullets. But, you know, you get knocked off a lot. And truthfully, I believe in just staying consistent and persistent, not listening to the noise a lot, not worrying about too much what other people are doing, and stick to what you know what you're doing.
So you're in luxury charting and real estate as well. You expanded. So
yes.
What's your philosophy when it comes to that, and how have those businesses worked out for you?
They're good. You know, as you expand your empire, you realize you got to do something with that money, right? So everything becomes a business. Everything. The buildings you buy to put your businesses in, That's a business. They rent them back from you. And then start buying all the land around it. Start becoming a commercial real estate entrepreneur. I've always been in real estate anyway, since I was in my 20s. It actually helped fund some of my first companies. I was buy homes and flip them, buy homes and flip them. So residential real estate as well, I'm into. And then as far as, owning a plane, owning a boat. I mean, everything's a business. Everything can be chartered. Everything can be rented. And ultimately, yes, that's part of leisure. Those are the leisure things in life. Yes, I fly around privately, but it's a self-funded business. Yes, I have a boat, but it's chartered. It becomes part of my business. My business uses my boat. That becomes part of the business. Everything becomes a business in life.
So, it's interesting because definitely is business savvy and fits right in with a lot of things we talk about. Are you learning these things as you go, right? Because obviously you're an expert in the field of beauty care, but these things are like tax strategies now. Are you like
high-level tax strategies is a major part of life. It should be for everyone.
For sure.
I can remember doing it when I had my first little business, which was a 4-foot square behind a chair. I was an independent contractor, did all my own taxes. Got my 401k, my Roth IRA, completely self-bought and funded. Got my own insurance. I had to do my own Schedule C. I did my own taxes. So that foundation, that financial literacy is the foundation of everything I do today. It's just got a lot more zeros after it. So ultimately, once you learn how to manage your businesses, that it just rolls into other businesses. And yes, how do you learn how to be a yacht owner? I'm the kind of person, my husband jokes and he says, you're the world's greatest sponge. I love to learn. It's a big part of my enthusiasm about life. So when I have a boat, I learn about the engines. I learn about what it takes to run it. I understand that it's got 172,000 pounds of thrust, 3 Rolls-Royce engines. I mean, I'm kind of the kid that gets under the hood. I don't just like hire people to manage things. I like to know. And so that helps me manage my businesses when I really understand what truly operates them and makes them hum. And so I just kind of go from there.
So when you talk about legacy, what's your idea for the company, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, right? Even when you may not be running it. Have you thought about that as far as like a legacy brand and how you want it to be run when you're no longer running it, and your vision for the future when it comes to your brand?
Yeah, you know what? I just never say never is one thing I've learned in life. Never say never. We have 5 kids. Who knows if one of them will want to go into it? My guess is no.
Or any of them? They don't have signs?
No. I mean, right now, so far, none of them really want to go into it. We'll see, We have age 23 to 3, or actually 24. She just turned 24 to 3. So who knows? They're still kind of young and making their way. But really, I think my older kids know. And but my legacy is really I think I want my legacy not to necessarily be about dollars. It's about how I contributed to the world. That is what I want my legacy to be. I believe that giving back is a major part of business. I use my business to give back in many ways. It's really, no business is a business without purpose. So that's what my legacy is about. How I can use my businesses to make people look and feel more beautiful. And then through that vehicle, obviously, to make some changes in the world.
You talked about expansion in 120 countries. Is there a region that you're looking to get into in the next 5 years that you like, wait, if we could just get here, that would be amazing?
Wow. Over the last 2 years, I've been able to hit most of them. There's not too many countries left. Actually, we just had Cosmoprof Miami, and I opened up most of Canada there. That's always been this kind of gray area I couldn't quite sink my teeth into. I think that's coming up. So that's all launching. I'm super excited about that. Australia. That's one I've been really wanting to go into for a lot of years, and it's been tough. It's these massive, vast countries that have companies that are really kind of in the big cities, but the outskirts aren't so catered to. So it's really hard to kind of do the entire country and get the distribution and expansion all over the country. So those are two. Central and South America have been always on my bucket list, and I've been opening them. I've literally been flying around the world, opening them, especially lately. I did three countries in 3 days just, a month ago. I opened Vietnam and Taiwan, and Japan is definitely a tough one. And that would be probably one of the holy grails for me to get in Japan, because listen, they have exquisite taste and exquisite beauty care. So they tend to stick to their own brands because they are really amazing brands. So, and they aren't as easily impressed by American brands. When you go in Vietnam and Taiwan, they're so excited to have an American brand, So yeah, it's a different world there. That would definitely be one I would love to expand into and go to. Beautiful country.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with us, having the conversation. Anything that you would like to leave the audience with before we head out?
I would just say that, we live in an amazing country with tremendous potential and possibilities. And I know a lot's going on in it. The last few years has kind of been crazy. But as a Latina, as a woman, and in a sector that is run by men, I would just encourage, every woman, really, to follow your dreams and to know that you too can do it. I'm living proof of it. So
it's a fact.
Yeah.
Why fight the time when you can rewind the time?
That's right.
I think entrepreneurial boxes do. Maybe there's some guys with beards that may want to try out the product.
That's right.
It's a fact. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Peace.